Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to episode 156 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. Joining me today is Matt Reynolds, the co-founder and president of Indigenous, a retailer of organic, fair trade, and sustainable fashion. We're going to be discussing Indigenous's commitment to being a socially responsible brand and how that impacts decision-making at the company. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
So I think it would be a good place to start by having you briefly tell our audience a little bit about Indigenous.
Well, yeah, sure, absolutely. We're in a really exciting period right now. There's a lot of change and growth happening. Specifically at this time, we're launching a new direct-to-consumer website, which is indigenous.com, in addition to our thriving wholesale business. And we also just opened up a new store in Petaluma, California, in Northern California, which is close to our headquarters. But starting out, we were a small company built on a very big idea, which was to create clothing that truly honored both people and the planet. And that idea became a promise for my business partner and I, Scott Leonard and I. And it's a promise to use only eco-friendly materials, to pay fair wages, and create opportunities for artisans in the developing world, and to help change really the way that we look at fashion. So for over 20 years now, we have been committed to making fashion that honors both the people and the planet. And we've been obsessed, really, with creating this culture of care dedicated to changing the fashion industry for the better.
So you mentioned the brand. Did it start as a wholesale brand?
Yeah, so we started out, we often say we went to go climb a mountain because we were oftentimes in the Andes in South America and Central America. But it wasn't a mountain made of earth. We actually were out to prove we could scale a socioeconomic cottage industry production model. And we did it through the manufacturing side and through wholesale primarily, and then launched into private label relationships that were quite large about 10 years ago.
So Matt, as you mentioned, the business has its roots as a wholesale brand. I'm curious to hear the reasons behind why direct-to-consumer. Why did you believe now was the right time to take advantage of that opportunity?
That's a great question, Joe. We basically did a lot of thinking last year and decided in 2018 that it was the time to really take our culture of care beyond our supply chain and bring it directly to our customers by layering on an omni-channel model. Wholesale, private label, online, and then also direct to consumer brick and mortar retail. Because we believe that really today it's critical for Indigenous to be available to our customers at the time and in the place and in the way that they find most convenient. And so we're really in a position to maximize our brand story and consumer engagement using tools that are available today in the digital realm. For example, Instagram stories hit 150 million daily users in 2017. Facebook saw 400% growth last year. Email marketing right now is slated to be a $6.5 billion market, and that's according to WGSN's latest report. So if that kind of answers your question, we also feel the consumer preferences today are really in the right place for our brand to speak to them. They're looking, I think McKinsey & Company did a report that around the globe fashion consumers are becoming more environmentally conscious. They expect ecological fabrics, a conservation-minded use of resources, reduced emissions of pollutants, greater social commitment, and fair trade treatment of employees in the production facilities. So our expertise of 20 years and our ability to really tell this narrative in a clear and concise way is only going to help both our wholesale retailers as we get the brand more well-known out there through a direct model.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I want to get back a little bit to, as I mentioned in the intro of you, that Indigenous is, its commitment to being an organic, fair trade, and sustainable company. And you used the word obsessive about that. So why has that been such an important part of the growth of the brand? Maybe you could take it back to why you started the company, and then how you've tried to instill that value as you continue to grow.
Well, it is a passion. It's a deep passion, and it kind of started for me when I was a child. I had the opportunity to live throughout South America and Central America with my family. My father was a progressive economist at Stanford University, and he pretty much devoted his whole life to breaking down the inequities of income between the rich and the poor in order to find ways to create opportunities for those who needed it most. And as I grew up, the special people that I met in South America and Central America and their culture were working their way really into my DNA. And after I graduated with a degree in economics and had an early prosperous career in retail, I realized that my heart was searching for more. And so the marriage of my retail acumen and my compassion for the environment and the world's cultures was a real natural personal growth step for me. And that's when I found myself running into my business partner today, Scott Leonard, and choosing to join him on this Indigenous journey.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the different ways and the tools that's helping Indigenous, stay true to that commitment. And one of the tools you're working with is New Order. Can you talk a little bit about how its platform has helped Indigenous to be a more environmentally sustainable organization?
Absolutely. So we were looking to create an online platform to help our wholesale division from a point of view of actually wanting to use less paper. So we actually are really excited to say that now we're almost entirely paperless in running our wholesale division through New Order. Rather than bulk printing our catalogs, we can also now personalize catalogs, do all of our photo shoots digitally, upload those to New Order, create line sheets that are individualized for buyers, and email draft orders and copies of orders and recommendations of buys to our individual retailers without having to send out reams and reams of paper that aren't curated and just create a tremendous amount of waste. I was reading recently that a typical wholesale buyer will print and ship approximately 5,000 copies of 4 different 250-page color catalogs up to 3 to 4 times a year, which, if you calculate that out, is 20 million sheets of paper, or approximately 2,400 trees that are being used. So by going through a New Order platform, you're saving thousands of trees and really just operating at a much higher efficiency.
Yeah, that was good. That's a good lead into my, next question is in terms of you've obviously stated, and it's quite profound, the environmental benefits that you've seen to moving towards this paperless system. But I'm assuming there are business benefits as well to streamlined, the efficiency of your operations, and then I'm guessing probably a cost savings from, paper and printing isn't cheap. Possibly cost savings there as well. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The inefficiencies of actual manual order writing in terms of how much extra work it causes on the back end. For example, if you go to a show and you have 100 different styles, and every one of those styles has different colors and and certain styles have offered in different sizes. You might not have a plus size or an extra small or an extra large available in certain items, but the buyer who's working on a paper order form might just assume that it exists and fill out the size runs that they think are there, and then that goes back to the main office, and then the data entry person ends up getting frustrated because they have to then contact the buyer, let them know that that's not available, et cetera, et cetera. So new order actually helps us minimize those inefficiencies and human errors and discrepancies throughout the entire wholesale buying process. And it's really, really pleases our operations team and our CFO to be able to make this shift, and she's been a huge advocate for that transition from paper traditional wholesale platforms to new order.
So then, looking forward, in terms of growing the business, what are some of the ways that you're looking? You mentioned direct to consumer is a new channel for Indigenous. What are some of the additional ways that you're looking to grow while also remaining true to that core commitment of being a socially responsible brand?
Well, yes, as I mentioned, really we feel an avenue to grow is through an omni-channel model, being in control of our narrative, and really pushing the brand awareness out through the digital media channels. We've invested, in building a radical, disruptive, and authentic socioeconomic fair trade production model, and we're ready to scale. And with consumer preferences, technology, and the apparel market being ripe for us to grow, because it's perfect, because it allows us to continue to elevate the women's artisan lives that we're working with and not harm the planet. So technology is there. New order platforms allow us to be that much more efficient. Consumer awareness is on the rise. I think sustainable fashion is one of the fastest emerging markets out there, and it's a really, really it's a $2 trillion industry that is rife with social and environmental injustice. So, by leveraging all of the tools that are available to us and getting the word out there using, like, for example, even New Order has great tools for sharing our story, customizing looks, even a media section that allows us to use video. It's another one of those added values that didn't exist 5 years, 10 years ago.
Yep. And I'm curious, the typical Indigenous customer, and they kind of leading you in this direction. You mentioned some of those stats around, the different digital platforms, whether it be Facebook, Instagram stories. Are you engaging and you seeing, your customer base moving towards those digital platforms, and thus that's kind of leading the way for you as you make growth decisions?
Well, it's actually interesting because I would say 90% of our customers are traditional retailers, and we hang alongside mainstream brands that aren't necessarily committed to fair trade or organic values. However, we have found that the commitment, the environmental commitment, and the social commitment that we have as a brand is starting to resonate more and more and more, and it becomes like this amazing frosting on the cake, so to speak.
Yep.
But first and foremost, we have to be able to compete with best-in-class quality, design, fit, on-time delivery. And if we can meet or exceed customer expectations on that level, and then bring a really emotional story to the table, it builds an incredible amount of passion and loyalty. And we have these just amazing ambassadors and consumers that understand and get the story, that come back time and time again, and that really helps our retailers grow with us. Right now we have over 700 retail stores carrying our product in North America, and I'd like to say that our story is helping them become leaders in their community in stepping into this really fast emerging market of ethics and sustainability. And we really believe that sustainability is the future. It is where consumer demands are going. People more and more are caring about where their products came from. And I think in a few years, people will expect to be able to track their product as easily as they can track a package, and know who the producer is, and know that people were treated fairly and respected, and that there aren't some kind of severe harm being done to the communities that are making their clothes.
Yep, I appreciate that, and it sounds like you guys are, a model that a lot of branches try to follow, and trying to do, your commitment to at Indigenous to being that socially responsible company. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Matt Reynolds of Indigenous for joining me today. Please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. But make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.